going to show you how to use XProc as a test runner, yeah, for XQuery web applications. I'll be showing you specifically how to use XProc to run NB tests, aggregate tests, and also highlight some of the issues when using XProc in these things. This is a work in progress. I hate frameworks, and I make them all the time. You're not going to see on Google Code this or GitHub anytime soon. What I wanted was Florent to be here so that I could make a XPath package to deploy this. The techniques I'm going to show you are sort of, I think, Saxon and Mark Logic, but I think they're applicable, everywhere. Okay, let's synchronize what we mean by test. Yeah, everyone should get that. Does anyone know what agitation testing is? Well, it's a new kind of testing, actually. Really short thing. The idea is that when you have an application, that you randomly send all input to it and see what happens. And it's called agitation testing. It's a very interesting thing for very large.
So assembly to like a security of fuzzing?
Yeah, very similar, actually. But this is more from a feature point of view than a security analysis point of view. What's XProc? Think Unix pipes for XML. That's what I always say. Facade sounds like a nice term. What I like is declarative. Steps. You've got steps that do things. In between steps, you have XML flowing. Maybe in the future, we'll let other stuff flow, like something with bytes or some other data formats with other things. But for now, it's XML. Right, now I'm going to show you stuff. So excuse me whilst I jump into Emacs, and I apologize for inflicting Emacs on anyone. By the way, if you do use Emacs, you should try org mode, just in case. That's a little plug there. Right, so the first thing I'm going to show you is XProc running XQuery, just as a first attempt. So when you look at XProc, you have a bunch of steps. One step is called directory list. So I can run through a directory, list out the files. If they're all XQuery files, then I want to run each XQuery file. So if we take a look at my first example, can everyone see that? Okay, I got some documentation to go with that. I have an input, output. Here's my directory list. That's the path, and now I'm going to loop through it. I can tell for every loop what's the data I'm interested in. P directory list outputs a C directory with files underneath it. So it's just a markup language for representing directories. I'm only interested in the C file. Okay. So I'm not drilling down into, I'm just in one directory. I could have showed drilling down into a bunch of directories. And then I'm going to set a variable. I'm interested in file, but on the file there's a @name attribute. And that actually holds the name of the file. Right, so I'm going to take the file, the variable, and use the XQuery step and supply it here. When I run it, it doesn't work. This is a problem. XProc is a young spec. We made mistakes. One of the mistakes is that href on a P data element, XQuery is in XML, so I have to bring in a text file basically. But href is in dynamic. So XProc version X will allow you to be dynamic. So I said, right, next, let's try a different approach. But that would be, as a programmer in any programming language, that would be your first approach, right? So we go to the next example, which is, I think, X1B, which is actually, at the moment, I'm probably over time already, but let's. So, example 1A, P directory list, that doesn't work. Oh, I don't care. I don't want to just run individual standalone XQuery files. I want to do tests on these things. So actually, I'm more interested in XQuery libraries. Yeah. So if we go to back to here, what I can do is I can use pxquery and I can embed. I could write this as a separate file and refer to this. But I'm going to import my homebrew test. You may have seen it in various forms, but I have a little test XQuery library. And it's very simple. And I just bring it in through here. And I'm bringing in an example application. Yeah? So this is just an app. And now I'm going to test it. Oh, God. We made another mistake. XProc. Yeah. Okay, so XQuery. When I bring in text files, XML has to be escaped in here. You might I'm on the working group, and I'm trying to get a little bit of sugar, so we don't have to see this sort of mess in here. I don't want to have DOE or anything like that on there, but it does mean that I have to escape things. But if we look specifically in this area, I'm going to write a test. And all my test is give it a title, description, my expected, which is just true, actual. Here's my function I wrote in the test library. And then I'm going to invoke my application. Yeah? And then I'll get out of this. There's nothing else underneath my XQuery step, so let's run it and see what happens. So if I go to here, I got Calabash installed because my XProc doesn't work. And if we run this, you'll see that I get the test output. And it's asserted expected true, not magic. Okay, that's great. So I've proven to you that you can use XProc to run XQuery and run some sort of unit test, but that's not really that interesting, actually. Actually, what I want to do is run tests, aggregate tests, and generate reports. So, example 2. I have a new XQuery framework. It's actually MarkLogic centric. It's called MX. It is on GitHub, and it will be released fairly soon. There's a site called xmlmonks.com. It's a little toy I made, my own site, which actually uses this. When I developed the MX framework, I wanted to unit test it completely. So I turned to my best tool in my toolbox, which is XProc, and I'm now going to show you that we're actually using XQuery, but it's called ML ad hoc query. This is Calabash's extension to MarkLogic to invoke the XQuery processor in MarkLogic. And then I'm going to show that first, and then with the same stuff, I can show you how we set up and tear down stuff. All right, so I'll probably show you this stuff first, so give me a moment whilst I get there. Unit. Okay, I'll show you just one of the many XProc files. So, what does this do? I built a test library. Actually, I lied. Phil Fennell, a colleague of mine, has actually inspired me with this. Yeah, I want to make sure he gets his name out there. So instead of XQuery, we're invoking module, and we got a lot of stuff like username, password, that type of stuff. And what are we doing here? We are looking for does anyone see what I'm missing here? Is that the right thing, actually? Oh, wait. Excuse me. Let's go to rewrite. Yeah, okay. There's one that has stuff in it. Okay, just like you saw before, messy escaped XML, we have a bunch of tests. And so what I want to do is I create a whole bunch of tests for the application, and then that generated XML on the file system. And then we were able to, with a simple PXSLT step, generate the end report. So I'm now running. I've got like 10 separate XProcs. Yeah. And this is, once again, just unit testing individual standalone XQuery. And that's done now, so we should probably look, and the unit report is there. So if I pop this into here, let's see what happens. I should probably pop it into somewhere where we go, Jim. Okay. So, what do we see here? Whoa! All the tests passed. And that's 33 tests. Actually, this is a test of the framework, not the application I'm building with the framework. And if I go through these, they're relatively, you can obviously with the test library I have, you can match up XML. I test the controller. I test all the functions. Okay, that's great. I'm sure you guys at Zorba have test libraries and it outputs nice stuff like this. Actually, what I want to do, I want to do this, but I want to do a little bit more. I'm sorry if I'm over time. I'll continue. That's okay with everyone. So what we did did a directory list, P for each, and then an XSLT. Actually, what I want to do is feature testing. I don't want to just test standalone XQuery. I want to go to my web application and test it like Selenium or whatever and be able to assert things. So what I use is XProc has a step called HTTP request, and it also has a very handy validation step using Schematron. I'm able to test URLs, get the response, and then with Schematron I can assert what it should contain. Yeah. Let's remind ourselves what Schematron is. Yeah. Okay. Schematron is a feather duster that reaches other areas that schema languages can't. Basically, whenever you want to do code constraints, yeah. So if there's content here and there's content here, and I want to check it, Schematron's your technology for doing that. It's a rules-based validation language. It cannot just assert. In other words, if an assertion fails, that says invalid. It can report as well. It can tell you have 10 elements here. It's not just it's a content reporting tool as well. It's quite full-featured. And let me show you before I make any assumptions about it. I'm almost done. Yeah, okay. So I'll first show you. We'll probably have to. Where are we? Where did I put you? There we go. Examples. Okay, I'll first show you a schematron just to refresh. Schematron is XML markup. Defines patterns. Inside of patterns, we have rules. Inside of rules, we have assertions. When you see a rule like this, context section count, kind of looks like XPath, doesn't it? Well, in theory, it is. Yeah. So first off, what this is saying is, when you apply this to an XML document, look for section elements, and then underneath report on this XPath. This is a report condition. The assert condition up top, it says, find the section element and make sure it has a title element. And if it doesn't, then print out this section has no title. Yeah, simple stuff, but really, really useful. Right, now we'll show you the feature tests. So, almost there. Test, feature. So we got a bunch of them. I'll just go for inline test. So if we look at the XProc, is the second eyelid glazing over yet? No? If I look at the XProc here, we have a filter, and this is just bringing in configuration data I need. I have my own custom HTTP request step, but I can use PHTTP request. Ignore this. It's just sugar for me at the moment. I'm making a call on an application called inline test, the URL. Yeah. When I drop down to here, I want to do some stuff with the output, the response. Ignore this because this is helper stuff for me. Basically, this gives me an XML formatted HTTP response. And then that HTTP response, I'm going to validate with Schematron. So I've embedded inside of XProc a Schematron, and basically you can't see that. So if we look at it, it's going to say, right, the context C response, and I always want an attribute that says status equals 200 when I go to that URL. Yeah? If not, then I want to print out some stuff. Yeah? I want to make another assertion. The test, the body of the HTTP response, it should have text equal to inline test 1. So let's now run this stuff. Where do I run it? Oh yes, run feature test. Okay, so the nice thing about Schematron is that it has a reporting sort of engine to it. You can actually generate really nice reports with it. And I don't actually have this hooked up generating nice reports yet. So basically, if it fails, it should fail here. It is a dynamic error to assert valid. And yes, it failed because if we go to the actual web application, which is running locally here, what is it, 9,000? Inline test. Inline test should be inline test, not inline test 1. Yeah, so it failed. Right. Let's make some final Feature testing. Okay, using schematron is really interesting. I find that the rules are much more composable and reusable than unit tests written in some procedural language or some programming language. I find after one project doing this, I'm reusing something like 60% of all that code again, which is amazing. If I can't get code reuse in my own code, the code itself, I understand that. It's a lie. Reuse, that is. But it's amazing in testing to get those kind of things. I don't have to escape to anything else. XProc has all these steps that lets me do what I want. So if I wanted to, for example, set up, install some data in the database, then test it in the web front end. I'm doing it all in one thing. It's pretty compelling when you do everything in one thing. Some of the future stuff I'm working on, CX JUnit, we can get XML stuff out of the JUnit runs. Selenium Runner, well, Selenium outputs everything, so I should be able to run that somehow. pexec, well, I'm running AB for performance testing, and I can generate XML coming, not directly from AB, but with some magic there. Maybe aggregated test format, TAP. I don't know if you're familiar with TAP. Summary. XProc to me is a natural fit for a test runner because I can do all bands of testing all in one thing. Before I used to use makefiles, Ant, shell scripts, and eventually I had to teach other people how to do it. An XML format is sort of naturally self-declaring and documenting itself. Rules reuse is an amazing time saver because once you do one project, I did rules for the Chrome accept header, for example. For one application, and I'm just building up a huge amount of rule sets, and I can see people trading this type of stuff. If people use schematron more, even better when used with an XML database. Right? Thank you very much.